Hi folks, this is Pastor Dave Grisham for God and Country Ministries, and hello Facebook and hello YouTube. I want to give a shout out of thanks to all those who donated some money towards my efforts to go to Bartlesville, Oklahoma to preach the gay pride event there, where they were going to have grooming of children at their little drag show, which we went and stood and opposed. And it was very successful. Title of today's video is Bartlesville Pride. And this is just an update video to let you know a little bit about what happened. And I wanted to thank everyone personally for the money that they donated. I asked for $150, and I actually got a little bit more than that. And the leftover money from that is going to be used to preaching the Abilene Pride, which is coming up on the 24th of this month, where we'll be doing the same thing. So in this ministry, you can actually see where your money is going. If you're donating to our ministry, you can actually see what we're doing. There's video right now up on my Facebook. I'm about to upload some of the video up onto YouTube. And there's one of the Clapper videos has actually had over 14,000 views. So, you know, we post this stuff up on social media, and we actually get a very large audience sometimes when we get to reach people with the truth and with the gospel of Jesus Christ. So I just wanted to explain to you a little bit about, first of all, I asked for $150. It cost more than $150 to go to Bartlesville. I just asked for what I was short of. I spend my own money oftentimes on this stuff. I do. We all do. All of us street preachers, we spend our own money on this stuff. We're really, really dedicated. We get very little money in the way of donations, and we are most of the time spending our own money. And normally we ask when we have a shortfall, or if it's going to be a particularly expensive trip or a long trip. For instance, I've got one coming up in Atlanta in October, where myself and a couple other preachers are going to go. We're going to preach some university campuses. We're going to preach the Atlanta Gay Pride. I'm going to speak at the SOPA conference in Atlanta. And so we are very active and going all over the United States. As a matter of fact, you may not be able to see all of it, but there's a map right here behind me of the United States. And at the end of this year, I'm going to show you, I'm going to do a year-end review, and I'm going to show you the cities and states that I've preached at all over the United States. For instance, you know, like say in Mississippi, I actually preached at the Pink House in Jackson, Mississippi, which is, the Pink House is the nickname for the famous abortion clinic that is the one that was brought up before the Supreme Court and overturned Roe v. Wade. I've actually preached at that clinic this year, before they stopped performing abortions, before Roe v. Wade was overturned. And so that's one of the things that I did this year. I stood out in front of it with my Grim Reaper costume. And anyway, so what happened in Bartlesville? Well, we got to Bartlesville, and we teamed up with another evangelist named Jim Gillis. It was Rich Pinkowski and myself and Jim Gillis. We had been invited by a Baptist church from Bartlesville. They informed us of this event. We had no idea it was happening until they told us about it. And they had been having a gay pride for 5 years. This was their 5th year. And it was their 2nd year to have a drag show with children involved. And so we wanted to stand against it. And it turns out that we were the first street preachers ever to really come against Bartlesville Gay Pride. This was the first time street preachers had shown up with bullhorns and banners and preached the gospel there. And it caused quite a stir. It really did. The police, we had contacted the police and let them know we were coming. And they kind of set up an area for us, and we didn't accept their area. They wanted us to set up all the way on the back side of this parking lot and then across this busy street to create as much space between us and the event as possible. No, we weren't going to do that. So we set ourselves up on a street corner on a much less busy street because we know from experience that people are going to come over to us. And we told this to the officers, said, look, if we set up on that busy street, if we get a crowd over there, somebody's liable to get hit by a car. So on this side street where there's much less traffic, it's much safer for everyone else. And we always, when we preach, we take into account the safety of the sinners. When we choose a location to preach, we do it in a very tactical manner. We choose where can we stand to reach the most people. We know people are going to come over to us, so where is it going to be safe for the sinner to stand where no one gets run over? Where do we have enough space that we can spread out and not block a sidewalk because we don't want to violate the law? We don't want to obstruct traffic or block a sidewalk or an intersection. We're not Antifa, okay? We don't go out in the middle of the street deliberately try to stop traffic. We don't do that. So we try to accommodate the police's concerns. We try to accommodate the safety concerns. This is all very well planned out and very well thought out. We are what you might call professional street preachers. We do this in a very professional manner. Everything we do is with a purpose, and that's what we did when we got to Bartlesville. So we did not set up across way on the other end of the parking lot, way across the street on the other side of a busy street. No, we said that's not acceptable. It's not acceptable for them to hear us, and it's certainly not acceptable in terms of safety. So we negotiated with the police, and we got a spot across the street, directly across from the children's area, which was a perfect place for us to be, actually, since the focus of what we were doing that day was to stand against the drag queens who were going to be performing for little children, half naked, dancing around, wiggling their butts, and accepting dollar bills from the children, which did happen at 6:30 that evening, or at 6 o'clock that evening. And so it's like some perverted kind of strip club is what it is. So we set up across the street and began to preach, and about 3 o'clock when the event started. We arrived about 2 o'clock to get set up and talk with the police and get everything arranged for security and for safety and all of that. So we started preaching about 3 o'clock, and everything went very well. Crowds started to gather across the street. And that's normally what happens, is first they gather across the street, and then they cross the street over onto our side. As the crowds get larger and they get a little more bold, they decide to come across the street. And that's where we get the opportunity to do a couple of things. First of all, we get the opportunity to attract more people to actually listen, because when you get a crowd in front of you, it attracts other people. They want to say, hey, what's going on over there? When they get there, they're like, wow, what's all this? So they show up and they just kind of hang out, and some hang out across the street and listen. And there were people, and this happens at every outreach, we'll have people sit across the street or sit at a little bit of a distance, and they will sit there for hours and listen to us. And these are the people that really probably get reached. I mean, this, and Bartlesville was no exception. I saw this older couple over there put up their lawn chairs. They were ignoring. They came to the Pride event, but they were ignoring the Pride event. And the entire time we were there, they were sitting in lawn chairs across the street listening to us. They didn't pay attention to what was going on inside. They were listening to us. Now, they were wearing Pride shirts and all that kind of stuff, so we know they were there for Pride. But our preaching is so attractive. It's confrontational, and it's convicting. And so it brings people over. So that's the first reason. The second reason is because we get a chance to do one-on-one witnessing. So the first reason is, of course, we get more people to listen. It attracts more people. And the second reason is we get to talk to people one-on-one. And we did have some good one-on-one conversations. I had a good conversation with a young woman named Cheyenne, who was convinced we were doing things the wrong way, which is typical. But I explained to her that, look, if you call yourself a Christian, you need to go out and fish this pond. If you don't like the way we're doing it, just use our crowd. Go out there and fish the pond and do things the way you think they should be done. And she did. she actually went out into the crowd and started witnessing for Christ to other people in the crowd. So that was a success. There's a lot of different things that happen in these. If you will look on my Facebook page, you're going to see some photographs. There's actually a photograph of a Muslim family, a small Muslim family. The wife didn't come over. She sat in the car across the street at a Presbyterian church across the street. But her husband came over. He was wearing a long white gown kind of thing, which is typical of Muslims to wear. And he had 3 little children with him. I think it was 2 little girls and a boy. And they were holding signs. And one of them said, "Stop sexualizing children." One of them quoted the Quran. And another one on the backside of the Quran quote was a sign that said, "Repent or go to hell." You know, it said, "Homosexuals, repent or go to hell." And these little kids were holding these signs. Even the Muslims are upset over this child grooming that is going on with these drag shows with children being involved. Even the Muslims are upset. Now, we didn't talk to the Muslims because we were so busy dealing with the large crowd that we didn't have time to go over and try to witness to the Muslims. But they sat there for a couple of hours and then finally left. But so there's a lot of things that go on in these outreaches. There's a lot of dynamics involved. Another thing that came out of this, and Rich talked about it at length, Rich Pankowski talked about it at length on his live YouTube show last night. If you haven't seen that, I suggest you go to YouTube and go to Warriors for Christ and watch that live video where he puts out all this evidence that he and someone else dug up after the Pride event and found out that there was a like 11-year-old girl there, and she was flipping us the bird, and she was cursing us and using foul language and talking about male body parts, genitalia, and which is completely weird and disgusting hearing this come out of the mouth of an 11-year-old girl. But obviously she's been groomed. She's been brainwashed into this sexual cult. That's what this is. This LGBT community stuff is nothing but a sexual cult. All their parades are completely sexualized. All their festivals focus on sex. Their entire lifestyle is focused on their sex. On sex. That's all it's about. The whole thing. Lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, all of those acronym letters are focused on sex. Lesbian sex, gay sex, bisexual sex, transgender because they want to change into another male or female so they can feel more normal about having sex with a person of the same gender. So it's all about sex, the whole thing. If you are taking your children to these things, you're taking your children into a sexually charged environment. And I made a point, I got interviewed by Fox 23 News out of Tulsa, Oklahoma during this outreach. And I told him, I said, look, it's illegal to take a child into a rated R movie. Why would you bring a child to a rated R live performance where it's all sexualized? And why would you do that? That should be illegal too. There's a law in the state of Tennessee that prohibits any activity for children under the age of 18. They can't go to drag shows and stuff because anything that appeals to the prurient interests of children is outlawed in the state of Tennessee. A state senator here in Texas has introduced the same type of legislation here, and we intend to go to Austin in January and try to support that legislation and, if possible, testify in front of a Senate committee so that we can give them our personal experiences in dealing with these matters at gay pride events over the years, in our history and our experience. And we're going to show them the photographs and the videos. We're gathering tons and tons of evidence. We have just tons of photographs and videos of all these different things. Well, one of the things that was uncovered that Rich talked about in his show was something that was very disturbing, very disturbing. Apparently, the woman that was with this 11-year-old girl had adopted this 11-year-old girl, and she was at the same time, she is a lesbian homosexual advocate for gay adoption, and she works for the Department of Health and Services for the state of Oklahoma. She is a recruiter, a foster parent recruiter. So what we think is happening, now we're not 100% sure on this because we just barely got involved in this investigation, but what the evidence seems to suggest is that this woman might be recruiting homosexual people into the foster system and then funneling children that are taken out of homes and deliberately put them into these LGBT homes. And then they're bringing these children to these homosexual events to have them brainwashed into their cult. And that's what's happened with this 11-year-old girl that she adopted. There's a video that Rich showed of her getting on there, or this 11-year-old girl getting on there saying, "I'm Antifa." What 11-year-old child even knows about Antifa? I mean, most 11-year-old girls are playing with dolls and they're talking to their friends on the phone and they're maybe playing video games and watching cartoons, My Little Pony or whatever, but they're not focused on lesbianism, homosexuality, transgenderism, or Antifa, which is a terrorist organization. So here she's an 11-year-old girl claiming she's Antifa and that she wants to be part of Antifa. That's ridiculous. Who in the world has brainwashed this child into believing this garbage? Well, obviously, the lesbian who has adopted her. This is why homosexuals should be legally barred from adopting children, because homosexuals are mentally ill. There's something wrong with their brains, and they are not normal people. And homosexual families are not normal families. Every homosexual relationship is automatically, by definition, dysfunctional. It is absolutely dysfunctional. Gay marriage is dysfunctional from the get-go. All homosexual relationships are completely dysfunctional. They are abnormal, and they are unnatural. So they are, by definition, dysfunctional. You should never place a child deliberately into a dysfunctional family or dysfunctional situation, because you're going to end up with a dysfunctional child. And that's exactly what you get when an 11-year-old girl is willing to stand up there and flip people off at a gay pride event, grown men, and then talk about how they've got small penis energy. But she didn't use the word penis. Okay, she used the foul word for that. So this is a dysfunctional 11-year-old because she's been put into a dysfunctional situation. So you've got a dysfunctional person, this lesbian, working for the state of Oklahoma, who is funneling children into other dysfunctional situations so they too can become dysfunctional. And eventually what's going to happen, folks, what's going to happen is they're going to start lobbying states or the federal government to lower the age of sexual consent. That's where this is going. We warned you guys years ago about they're coming after the kids. The homosexuals are coming after the children. It's quite obvious now. Boise, Idaho just stopped. They just shut down. They just canceled their kids' drag show. They were going to take children, put them in skimpy outfits where they're half naked and have them parade around on stage and have the children do a drag show so that the perverts could take photographs of them like a bunch of twisted child pornography, right? So that got canceled because the sponsors pulled out. Well, gee, I wonder who might have told the sponsors what was going on. I wonder who might have sent the sponsors copies of, their advertisements and told them that maybe if they sponsored this, that this video of that was going to come out on the internet, and that undercover operatives going to be sent inside the Boise Gay Pride and have photographs and video taken, and this was all going to land on their doorsteps. Gee, I wonder who might have done that. I don't know, but I've got an idea. I think you do too. Anyway, it was a team effort. It was a team effort. Take my word for it. So this type of activism we do behind the scenes, and the reason for it is because we are the tip of the spear in this fight against this encroachment on America's children. We want to defend America's children. I've done it with abortion for years. I'm going to do it with this. I'm not going to back off of this, okay? And neither is Rich Pinkowski. Neither is some of the others that are working behind the scenes that are not quite as publicly visible as we are. There's a lot more than just Rich and I doing this, okay? Writing letters, contacting congressmen and senators, talking to sponsors to get them to pull their support. And I actually received some responses from one of those sponsors that told me that they had pulled their support for this. And that resulted in them canceling the event. So we played a direct role in that. In any case, what's happening with Bartlesville is this homosexual woman, this lesbian, we believe, we're not 100% sure on this, but we believe from the evidence we've seen that she's using her position in the government, the state government, to funnel children deliberately into LGBT relationships for foster care and possible adoption. As she has a so-called Presbyterian minister that is half owner or half co-founder of this organization, this advocacy group for homosexual adoption. So she's positioned herself in a key place so that she can have the power to funnel these children in the direction she wants them to go. And then, of course, they're being brainwashed into all of this. And like I said, in the future, we told you about this years ago. They were coming after the kids. I'm telling you now what's going to happen in the future. I don't call myself a prophet. I know the hearts of these people because I've preached to them for 15 years now. I know I've witnessed to countless thousands of homosexuals. I've dealt with homosexual activists, and these are the most terrible kinds of people you can imagine. And I know what's in their heart. I see what they're doing. I know what they say. I know what they say behind the scenes. I know how they threaten people, how violent they can become. And so I know that these people are evil in their hearts. They need Jesus Christ. But if they're not getting saved, let me tell you what they're going to do. They are going to try to, as I said earlier, they're going to try to lower the age of sexual consent for minors because they want to remove the threat of going to jail. Now, the reason that they are changing the term pedophile to minor attracted persons is a couple of reasons. Number one is they want to destigmatize pedophilia. You know, they don't want you to call them Chester the molester. They don't want you to call them child molesters. They want you to call them minor attracted persons. This is to soften the language, to soften your heart, actually to soften your head. You know, make you mushy in the head so that you don't think clearly. But any reasonable person would know that sex with children is an absolute disgusting abomination that should not be allowed in any civilized society. But this is where they want this to go. So once they can start changing the attitude of the culture, then they can start changing the laws. And they do this with the language. Folks, this is a battle of the word. It's always been God's word, the devil's word, okay? God's word or the devil's word. God's word says it's an abomination. The devil's word says, oh, they're born that way. They just can't help it. And that's exactly what they're going to say about pedophiles. They were born this way. They can't help it, okay? They just can't help it. And they're going to try to lower the age of sexual consent. They want to be able to marry 5-year-olds. Like there's a teacher in El Paso that got fired because one of her students recorded her saying that her students shouldn't be judging people just because they want to have sex with a 5-year-old. Yes, you should judge a person for that. You should imprison a person for that. That a person like that needs to be thrown into prison. Maybe they should be castrated. They should be emasculated, but they should not be celebrated. They should not be allowed to roam our streets free, much less parade down the street and publicly display their sin, which is what's going to happen in the future. You're going to see pedophiles, minor attracted persons, marching in the gay pride parades because there is no bottom to the pits of hell, folks. It is a bottomless pit. They will go to the next evil and the next evil and the next evil and the next evil. There is no bottom to hell, okay? They are inventors of evil things. So that's why we're fighting against this. That's why I went to Bartlesville, Oklahoma, and went to their pride. That's why we're trying to get drag queen story hours and stuff shut down. They're coming after the children. It's much easier to put out a fire when it's small than it is when it's out of control. We're on the front lines trying to keep this fire under control. We're trying to beat back these flames. We're firefighters. We're trying to put this out. And we're doing everything we can. We need your help. We really do. When I get on my page and ask for financial help to go places and preach, and then I put video up to show you that we went there, that's so you can see that your money is being spent well, that you are participating in this fight. See, this is not like Joel Osteen asking for money. See, or the Christian Broadcasting Network, Mike Murdoch. Have you heard about the $1,000 seed? Those folks are just trying to keep the television on so they can ask you for money, and they take that money so they can keep the television on so they can ask you for more money. And it's a cycle. It goes around in circles. That's not what we ask for funds for. If we ask for donations, it's because we are going to these places and we are fighting against this evil. If you want to keep the tip of this spear sharp, if you want to keep the edge of this sword sharp, then we need your support. We need several things. Number one, we need your donations. If you can't go, you can send, okay? You can help us. Money's getting tight. It's getting tight with everybody. It's the same with us as it is with you. Everybody's electric bill is going up, okay? Everybody's grocery bill is doubled or tripled. No exception with us. It's all the same, and I understand. But now is the time to start sacrificing. If you want to save our country, if you want to save people's souls, now is the time to fight. And it's going to take money, and it's going to take effort. The second thing we need for you to do is we need you to participate. If we make a call, if we say, look, guys, we need you to do this. We need you to call these people. We need you to write these emails. We need you to actually do that stuff, okay? If you actually do that stuff, you get to be part of the team that gets these things shut down. Believe me, there is power with numbers, and you can provide that, okay? So if you want to help, you can help donate to help send us places to be. We can be on the front lines. And then you can also help by answering our call for assistance when we say, hey, write these senators, write these congressmen, send emails to these sponsors, make these phone calls, here's the phone numbers, all that. We're going to start providing all that stuff, putting it on our pages and everything. And if you can do that, that would greatly help. And the third way you can help us is if we are hitting an event in your area, please come out and join us. We'd rather actually have more Christian bodies on the streets than we would money, okay? That's more important than money. So if we're in your area, if you see my posts on Facebook or Rich Penkoski's videos or his posts on Facebook, if you see these things that are about to go down and it's in your area, contact us. Send us a private message on Messenger on Facebook, or send us an email or something. If you got our phone number, you can call us. But let us know if you can be there, or if you can host us. Maybe you could put us up in a couple of spare bedrooms at your house, because hotel rooms are expensive. And this is another way to help the ministry financially. If you don't have money to give, maybe you can lend us a room. Maybe you can give us a ride to and from the airport, if we have to fly in. Or maybe you can show up and hold a sign, hold a banner. Maybe you can hand out tracts. You can do whatever. We need help in these three areas. We need help with donations. We need help with phone calls and contacts, because we can't do all of this ourselves. We don't have enough time. Okay, we got regular lives too. Now this is the focus of our lives. Okay, what we do here, like Bartlesville Pride, what we're going to do in Abilene, what we're going to do in Atlanta after that in October. This is our life. This is the focus of our life. This is what we do. But we also still have to keep a roof over our head, So we can't do this stuff 24/7, 7 days a week. I wish we could. But, you know, we just don't have enough time. So we need your help with the phone calls and emails and all that. If we put out an alert, please respond to that alert, okay? And show up if we show up in your area. Show up, shake our hands. We'd love to hug your neck. We'd love to pray over you. We'd love for you to stand with us and stand against this evil as we do it. So donate if you can. Donate your time and effort if you can. And donate your time and effort if we come into your area. You know, maybe you can loan us a room or whatever and help us out in some way. Come out and join us and stand with us. And you get to be part of this epic fight. Because this is a war. This is a war that's going on, you know. And Roe v. Wade didn't get overturned overnight. And we're not going to get this LGBT stuff overturned overnight. It's going to take a while. We're going to have to fight this battle. And if you want to see your country preserved, you want to see your freedoms preserved, if you love America, if you love your neighbors, and if you love these people that you want them to go to heaven, we don't want gay people to go to hell. We love these people enough to go out and tell them the truth, even if they don't want to hear it. They don't understand, but what we're out there preaching, they see it as hate, but it's love speech. Because believe me, if God showed up instead of us, it'd be Sodom and Gomorrah all over again. They would be destroyed. They would not be saved. When Christ comes back, it's not to save. That's what the church is for. Okay? When Christ comes back, it will not be to save. It will be to destroy. It will be to wipe sinners off the face of the earth and exterminate them out of existence. That's what's going to happen when Jesus comes back. Until then, the church has this mission to try to save as many souls as we can. Folks, you know, if you were on the Titanic and you knew the ship was going down, what would you do? You'd try to save as many souls as you could. Well, folks, the world, you read the book of Revelation, you know the world's going down. This ship is going down. We need to be focused on saving souls. So that's how you can help us in a very practical way. If we ask for money, please donate. Because we're not staying at 5-star hotels. We're not getting back rubs at massage parlors. We're not buying brand new Cadillac Escalades. We're not buying private aircraft like some of these yahoos that are stealing people's money, you know, on television. We're not doing any of that, okay? We're not fleecing the sheep. We're not grifters. I know a lot of people accuse us of that. You know, what we're doing is we're just trying to do a mission. And we do this on a shoestring budget. We do it as cheap as we can, because we know you guys don't have a lot of money and we don't either. But we try to be as effective as we can. And whatever you give, it'll be the same as Jesus when he multiplied the bread and fed 5,000. Whatever you give, God will take that and multiply it. And we can be extremely successful. We had no idea when we were going to go to Bartlesville Pride. We had no idea we were going to uncover this possible child trafficking that may be going on. That's what you have to call it, is child trafficking. I mean, if you're using a position of power to funnel children into LGBT families, can you imagine what would happen if this was reversed? If there was a Christian that had placed themselves in a position of power in Child Protective Services or DHS in Oklahoma, and they were using their position of power to take children out of the homes of Muslim homes and putting them into Christian homes so they could force them to go to church and try to convert them to Christianity. Can you imagine the uproar that would be occurring? But we think that's what's happening with the LGBT stuff in Tulsa and Bartlesville, Oklahoma. We think that this woman, or there's maybe a group of them, there was more than one person wearing that T-shirt from that, on the back of the shirt it said, "It takes a village." And it's a place called a Village something. It's an organization for adopting kids. There were several women running around with a bunch of little children with them that had these shirts on. So it was not just this one. So what we think is happening is they're funneling these kids into LGBT homes and then forcing these children to go to gay pride events so they can be brainwashed into this ideology, so they can be brainwashed into this cult. If that was happening, the reverse situation, and Christians were doing that to Muslims or atheists or to the LGBT families, you know, if they had a kid, some lesbian had a kid, and Christians were taking the kid out of the home and forcing them to go to church, oh my gosh, it would be national news. It'd be all over the place. So anyway, we would not have discovered this had we not gone to Bartlesville Pride. And I'm sure there's a lot more of this. Where there's smoke, there's fire. And where there's one, there's more. It's like a cockroach. You know, it's like cockroaches. You see one or two, and you know there's a million somewhere hiding in a wall. And so, you know, you see this one woman doing this. There's a million of them out there hiding in the walls, doing it at probably cities all over America. Anyway, I just wanted to make this video to say thank you for your financial support, and thank you for the comments that you made, and thank you for watching the videos. I appreciate that. I've got a couple of live videos up on my Facebook page of the Bartlesville Preach, and we're going to do some more at Abilene, which is on the 24th. So thank you very much for your support, for the donations. Thank you very much for all your support on Facebook and on YouTube. If you'd like to continue to donate to our ministry, because we do have these other outreaches coming up, my Cash App, I do not have Zelle, I do not have PayPal. I know a lot of you guys have contacted me and said, hey, do you have PayPal? No, I had some trouble with PayPal. They're one of the worst ones out there to try to get money through. They will withhold your money for any reason. If they don't like what you say, they withhold your money. And so I can't count on PayPal to get the money to me because they hate Christians so much. So I go with Cash App. It seems to work very well. My Cash App is $ For God and Country Dave. That's FOR, not the number 4. For God and Country Dave, all lowercase letters, all one word. $ For God and Country Dave. Appreciate your donations. I'd appreciate some more because we do have other outreaches to do until the end of the year. God bless you all. Thank you very much.